Hi, everyone. I'm going to wait until I see a few more people watching on YouTube. Awesome. I see a couple people on. All right, well, we're going to get started. So I can see that Lauren is joining us right now, which will be great. So my name's Laura. I am a senior sociology and justice studies dual major at UNH, and I'm here in Smith Hall. I'm sort of going to be hosting our tour today, but we're going to have Lauren, who is another UNH student, on with us to head around campus and show us around. So feel free to drop any questions that you have in the chat on YouTube. Hi, Lauren, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. Awesome. I was just encouraging anybody that's watching to drop whatever questions they have in the chat. If you want to let us know what you're interested in majoring in or where you're from, we'd love to know a little bit more about you. But with that said, like I mentioned, I'll be here. I'm going to try to change this so you see more Lauren than you see me. But with that, I'll let Lauren take it away. I can see that she's outside Sawyer, so we'll start with telling you a little bit about housing.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll just introduce myself first. I'm Lauren. I'm a sophomore occupational therapy major, and I'm from Madbury, New Hampshire, which is actually just one town over, so super close by. On campus, I'm involved in the Student Occupational Therapy Association, Best Buddies, and I'm also on the executive board of a sorority. So if anyone has any questions about any of that, feel free to let me know. So we can start just by talking a little bit about housing. So right now we're actually outside of Sawyer Hall, which is one of our smaller residence halls. And if you look over here, this is Stoke, which is one of our larger residence halls. So in total, we have 27 residence halls on campus, with 4 of those being all freshman residence halls. Last year, I lived in Stoke, and this year I'm living in an on-campus apartment, which is called the Gables. And I basically have like a kitchen, a living room, and I have 5 roommates there. So next year I'm living in an off-campus apartment, and students kind of do whatever they feel is best for them. You can do a dorm for a bunch of years and then live off campus or live in the Gables, whatever works best for you. We also do have themed housing options. So those could be like active lifestyle, or one of my friends actually lived on an engineering floor in one of the buildings. So he was with all engineering majors. We do also have RAs and residence hall directors in all of our buildings. So the RA is kind of like your peer. They're especially trained to work with college students, and they are also a UNH student. They basically will offer support to you, and they can also put on programs. So that would be like a social. We've had like pumpkin painting socials or ice cream socials, and that's a super great way to meet people. Your residence hall director is more like the adult in the building. So they're also there to offer support and programming, but they're just from that more adult perspective. Then to talk a little bit about, oh, actually, does anybody have any questions about living on campus before I move on to dining?
I don't see any questions so far, so you can keep going, but even if you come up with a housing question later, if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to just drop it in the chat.
Yes, definitely. So every student that lives in a residence hall on campus will have an unlimited meal plan. And there's 3 options that you can choose from. They basically just vary based on like the amount of dining dollars or meal exchanges that you have. And dining is ranked top 20 in the nation at UNH. I've always loved the dining here. Some of my favorite things that we have are themed dinners. So we'll have like an Italian dinner night or a Chinese Lunar New Year themed night. And that's super fun to be able to try different like types of food that you might not have thought of before. We have 3 dining halls on campus. So over here we have Stillings on this side of campus. And then in the more center of campus, we have Holloway Commons. And on the other side of campus, we have Philbrook Dining Hall. There's also a lot of different opportunities to find food out, like at different cafes, like over here in Paul College, our business school. You can see we have a little cafe right there, and You can get different like coffee or salads, sandwiches, anything like that there. We do also have a dietitian who is more than willing to meet with any students about any allergies that they have, and all of our dining, all the food that's out will have, all the food that's out has monitors, and it will tell you exactly what allergens are potentially in your food. So it's very accessible. Does anybody have any questions about dining? Or Laura, if you have anything to add?
I don't see any questions yet in the chat, but I would just ask you which dining hall is your favorite, because I know it's a hot debate.
It is definitely a hot debate. My favorite is Stillings, just because I lived right next door to it freshman year. So I went there all the time, but I'm very biased in that because I was so
Yeah.
close.
Mine's Hoko, which is Holloway Commons, for a very similar reason. I lived in Upper Quad, which is some dorms that you guys will get to see towards the end of this tour, but right next to Hoko for 2 years. So I think they're all good, but you're probably right that like where you live freshman year definitely plays a big role in what your favorite is.
Yes, it definitely does. Um, Now, before we move on to our next stop, I'll just finish up by talking a little bit about safety at UNH. So we have a text alert system that parents and students can sign up for. So that would give you different alerts, like if there was a power outage or any inclement weather, anything like that. Then we also have two police forces on campus. So we have the Durham and UNH police. They're both specially trained to work with the college student population. And we also have every student has an ID card that has important phone numbers on the back, and it can swipe you in and out of just your own building. We do also have a blue light system here. So if you are ever walking home from somewhere and you feel unsafe, there should be a blue light very close by that you can tap, and a first responder will come to your location. And my favorite safety feature about UNH is called Safe Rides. And basically what that is it's a number that you can call, and they'll get like a UNH like bus basically, and they can bring you home from somewhere at night if you ever don't feel safe walking. Does anybody have any questions about safety at UNH, or if you have anything to add, Laura?
No, I think you did a great job covering it. I think something I really appreciate as a senior is over the last 4 years, it's been clear why Durham is ranked as one of the safest college towns in the country, just because there's such a strong community and group of people here. So I think you're good to start heading towards Smith, and I'll let you know as you walk if there are any more questions.
Awesome. Yeah. So as we're walking this way, we can kind of show like a little bit about the Paul College of Business over here. And you can kind of see straight ahead T Hall, which is kind of like the icon of campus. That's kind of the building that you'll see people posting pictures of when it's like snowing out, or if it's a really nice day out. And students will often be like sitting out on the lawn up there too.
Yeah, T Hall is a definite favorite of mine.
Yeah. I was actually just sitting out there the other day with some of my roommates. It was really fun.
Yeah, it's been so nice this last week. We have a couple people in the chat. I asked what they were interested in majoring in, and I see business, dance, musical theater, biology. So we've got a wide array. I think I can promise everybody that, like, you just saw Paul College, and we'll show at least a few buildings from every college at UNH. So we have the College of Life Science and Agriculture, so for the person interested in biology, College of Liberal Arts for dance and musical theater, Paul College of Business and Economics, College of Health and Human Services, which is Lauren's home, and College of Engineering and Physical Science. So we'll touch on some buildings for each of those. And if you have questions about your major, like I said, I'm sociology and Lauren's occupational therapy, but I think between the two of us, we could come up with some answers or reference for you regardless of what you're interested in. So don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah, definitely. I have friends in all different majors. So if anyone has any questions, I can do my best to answer that. So we just got to Smith Hall, and this is home to undergraduate admissions as well as some student services. So the first service that we have here is PACS, or the Psychological and Counseling Services. So every student gets 8 free sessions at PACS per year. And basically they can help you with anything that you're dealing with, like anxiety, depression, relationship problems. You just call them, set up an appointment, and they get you in pretty quickly. One of my friends freshman year, she was actually having a pretty hard time adjusting to college life, and she was feeling really homesick. So she set up an appointment at PACS, and they were able to get her acclimated so much quicker than she would have been able to on her own. And it made such a big difference in her college experience that I would definitely recommend anyone to utilize their services. In addition, we also have CFAR, which is a Center for Academic Resources. And basically, they can help you with kind of learning how to study, and they'll help you with time management skills or exam taking skills. You can also have like a little conversation with one of the academic mentors there. So that's very helpful. I know CFAR also, for one of my larger lecture classes, they put out study guides and had review sessions with us. So you can kind of see them involved in different areas on campus as well. And then finally, we have the student accessibility services, which basically they just make campus an inclusive place, so that everyone can access every resource that we have here. So they're kind of like an advocate and support to students with disabilities, and that could be a temporary disability, a permanent disability, a mental or physical one. Even if you were to like break your leg or something and you needed transportation to class, they could help you with that. Or if you needed extra time on taking tests, they could also set you up with that. And they're very easy to use if you ever need any help with anything like that. Does anybody have any questions about student services?
We have actually a few questions, one going back towards dining, and someone asked if you could touch on the differences between the meal plans that we offer.
Yeah, definitely. So there's basically like 3 meal plans that you can have. So the first one, I believe, is just the unlimited plan, and it might have a few meal exchanges, but I don't think it has any dining dollars. And then
Yeah.
the second plan up has more dining dollars and meal exchanges, and it's also unlimited. And then the third one is basically just even more dining dollars and more meal exchanges with the unlimited plan as well.
Yeah. So I think the real takeaway is that regardless of which of the 3 meal plans that you choose from UNH, you will have unlimited access to all 3 dining halls. Not just to one. It's not like 3 swipes a day. You can go in as many times as you want. My personal record in a day is 12. So we'll just leave that.
No way.
Yeah. It was Italian. It was Italian dinner night. It was a good day.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah.
Italian dinner night is really good.
So good.
Yeah.
But you're right. The difference is in dining dollars, which at UNH are things that will be sort of on your student ID that you can use to buy coffee or snacks at the cafes in the library, or like the one Lauren pointed out in Paul, or just around campus. So they can be great to have. And in meal exchanges or like guest swipes. So if you anticipate having guests on campus a lot and you want to be able to bring them to the dining hall, you might consider getting a higher meal plan right off the bat. You can always add those things as you go, but there is a benefit if like you know you're going to use a lot to do it right from the beginning. And someone also asked if it is hard to change majors.
I haven't actually changed my major, so I don't have any personal experience with that, but I do have a couple friends that have changed their major. And from what I've seen from them going through that process, basically you just have a meeting with your advisor and talk with them about it a little bit. And then you have to do an application almost, or kind of write a statement of why you want to switch into that major.
Yeah.
Is that correct, Laura?
It depends. So if you like, Lauren is in occupational therapy, which is a more competitive major on campus. So if you were trying to switch into something more competitive, you might have to meet with a professor, write something like she said. For me, I came in as a sociology major to UNH, and that's what I'm graduating as. However, because I'm a little crazy, I switched in and out in between because I don't know why, because I panicked. And it was very easy. If you are just kind of moving between, like I moved from sociology to psychology and then back, and that was more or less going on to WebCat, which is our like student platform. And from a drop-down list, like picking a new major and having my advisor sign off. So it doesn't have to be a hard process, especially if you're moving between, even if you're moving between colleges, but you're not trying to get into one of the more competitive majors like nursing or OT or sports science or something like that. So not too hard at all. And your advisors are an amazing resource to help you throughout that whole process.
Yeah, for sure. Just want to show a little bit about where we are right now as we just continue walking. So this is kind of like a little bit of like a residential area right here. Campus is basically set up where we have kind of an academic core, and then there's residential communities kind of surrounding. So this residential community over here is kind of centered around Stillings, and there's kind of dorms that kind of go all up and around here. And these are all, Stoke is the big dorm over here, but then the other ones are smaller residence halls. And then Congreve is kind of a mid-size one. And keep walking up this way. Are there any more questions in the chat, Laura?
So far, so good. A few more people have shared their majors of interest. So we have someone who's undecided in health and human services, psychology or neuroscience, communication science and disorders, nursing. So definitely be a good,
that's awesome.
a good stop for you when you're outside Hewitt to talk a little bit about CHHS.
Yes, for sure. I would love to do that.
Yeah.
So right now we're heading kind of over towards the gym, which is our Hammel Recreation Center. We'll see it as we come around the corner a little bit more clearly. But I personally love the Hammel Rec Center. I go there every single day. They offer awesome classes that are included with your tuition. So that could be anything like spin class, Zumba. I actually do one quite often. It's called functional fitness. And that's more of like a circuit style workout. Then we also have a demonstration kitchen in the Hammel Recreation Center. So my roommate freshman year was actually able to take some cooking classes at the gym, which was really cool. So she got that like kind of hands-on experience and learned a thing or two about cooking with some other friends. The Hammel Rec Center is just one part of campus recreation. And campus recreation has 11 facilities. One of my favorite ones that I feel like isn't that well known is called Mendham's Pond. And that's just a little bit of a drive off campus. Just because I'm from the local area, I know it pretty well, but it's free to all UNH students. And it's like a pond where you can go and hang out. You can also rent like kayaks and paddle boards there, and it's super fun. Then there's also a campus recreation app that I always use to find out when the next like different classes are, and that's super easy to use as well. You can kind of see right here is the gym. It's included with your tuition. You can swipe in as often as you want here. And we have a lot of different spaces in here. So we have like right here on this floor is like all of like the weights and kind of like lifting stuff. We also have basketball courts. And there's like, you can play ping pong in here. There's different spaces for classes, like if you were to do like a yoga class, something like that. There's also a track in here as well that you can run laps around, and plenty of like equipment like treadmills or ellipticals, stair machines, anything like that. Laura, do you have a favorite spot in the gym that you like to go?
Oh man, I do really enjoy the group classes like you were mentioning.
Yeah.
We have spin classes, which can be really fun. I've done a few like late at night and they're really enjoyable. I also have played a lot of intramural sports, which for me have often happened in the Hammel Rec Center. Just this semester, I did a volleyball tournament with my friends, and those are always so fun. I also am a big fan of the fact that there's saunas in both locker rooms, sort of like an underrated
that's definitely the
perk
best.
there.
Yeah. Walk up this way maybe. So right here is New Hampshire Hall. This is home to kinesiology. I actually have one of my labs in here. So since I'm an occupational therapy student, I'm a sophomore right now, but it's really cool because we get to do manual muscle testing, which is basically like testing if someone's muscles are weak or strong and kind of grading that. But I'm only a sophomore and I get to be having that hands-on experience, which is super cool. And the lab is like set up kind of just like how it would be set up in an actual practice. So I really enjoy my classes in here. There's also different like dance classes that go on in here as well. So it's really a cool place in there. One of my friends is actually majoring in health and physical education. And so she'll have some classes in here, and they have a big rock climbing wall. You can kind of see it like sticking out on the top there, but it's a full-size rock climbing wall. So that's super cool in there as well. We can head up this way.
And just as you walk, Lauren, we have someone on who is interested in OT. So if you could
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
just say like 30 seconds of what some of your intro courses were, or what like classes might be like your first year.
Yeah, definitely. So first year, you take anatomy for the whole year, and you also take 2 different occupational therapy classes. So the first one is kind of just your intro to occupational therapy, and you talk more about like the history and like the general rules of practice for that. And it just kind of gives you like a good frame of reference to set up on. And then we also have the second semester, you take a class about the developmental tasks of childhood or adolescence, and you kind of learn about that side of things. And then this year, I've been taking a class that's kind of the next step up from that, which is the developmental tasks of adulthood. So I'm also taking a class right now called Occupation, Identity, and Disability. And we talk about kind of the intersection between between occupations, which are basically like activities that are meaningful to you and that add value to your life, and then how doing occupations can help impact your identity, and how your identity can impact your disability, and kind of how all those 3 things work together. So I feel like I've personally got so much out of that class, and I feel like it's going to make me such a better occupational therapist just by understanding that. We talk a lot about stigma, and I definitely see the world differently after taking that class. So I've really enjoyed my classes so far. Kinesiology, you also take sophomore year. And then junior year, you take neuro and human movement. So kind of a big science class every year. And then individual like occupational therapy focused classes. It gets more specific as you go on. But right now, as a sophomore, we're still kind of working on just building those foundations that you need for for understanding the future things.
And a quick pivot of topics, but just since you did a little bit of a walk between like Smith and HRC, someone asked how long it normally takes you to walk to class or to the dining hall or just day to day.
Yeah, definitely. I would say it's pretty safe to say that from my dorm, I could get anywhere in about 10 to 15 minutes. That would be from Stoke. From the Gables where I live this year, which actually the Gables, it's kind of in that direction over there in the back. Can't really see it from here, but basically I would say for me to get from there to the center of campus, it's about a 15-minute walk, but from Stoke to the center of campus, much quicker, probably only like 5 to 10 minutes. And to get from Stoke to the dining hall, which is the closest one would be Stillings, would be probably about 30 seconds or less. It's literally just right out the door. So everything is definitely very accessible. I feel like the idea, our passing periods are 10 minutes. So I kind of think that the idea is that you should be able to get from one point on the main campus to another one in about 10 minutes. We also do have like our campus set up with like the academic core as well. So academic buildings are all very close together.
Right. I think if you live on campus and you're going to somewhere else on campus, it's not going to take you more than like 10, maybe like 12 minutes if you're getting to the gym from the far corner. But any class or something for me personally has normally been 5 to like 7 minutes maximum.
Right. And I honestly really appreciate the walks here because everything is so beautiful. Like when you walk through the center of campus, especially, it's like you're kind of on Main Street, and downtown Durham is kind of close by, but then you walk through the center of campus and you're in the middle of the woods, and there's a river running underneath you, and you're walking over a bridge, and it's so beautiful. So I feel like I definitely love walking places for sure here.
Right. And that it's actually a great transition. Do you want to talk a little bit about the buses and some of the non-walking options for when that's needed on campus?
Definitely. So I actually never took the bus freshman year just because I never needed to. I took it a few times to Portsmouth, which is only a little ways away from here, and that's a great spot to eat out. It's like kind of a on the water town. There's Prescott Park there, and they have like in the warmer months they'll have like outdoor plays and movies there that you can go to, and ice cream places to walk around and go to. The bus is super easy to get there. The bus can also take you to Newington, which is a town close by, and they have some of those like stores that you might all recognize, like in like a regular plaza. Like they have Ulta, Kohl's, Best Buy, Trader Joe's, a movie theater, other grocery stores there as well. So you can kind of have a mix of whatever in Newington. And then Dover is another town that's close by that the bus can take you to. and all around campus as well. So this year I've been taking the bus a lot more, just living at the Gables. And it kind of just does a loop around campus, and it can also even take you to some of the off-campus apartments that are close by. So next year when I'm living in an off-campus apartment, that's going to be really nice to not have to worry about getting to class. All of our buses do run on alternative fuels as well, which I think is super cool. And it's just one of the many ways that UNH is really sustainable, which I will talk about later on in the tour as well. But I definitely really like that. Makes me feel good about taking the bus.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Do you want to add anything else while you're there at the Wildcat statue?
Yeah, definitely. I'll just kind of show a few things around here. So right behind me over here is the Whittier Center. And that's where we have our hockey games along with our fall and spring concerts and some career and internship fairs. I have loved the fall and spring concerts. I think that they're so much fun. We also do have over this way, I don't know if you can, it'll show up on this, but you can kind of see the dairy bar, and there's an Amtrak station over there, which is our train station on campus. That can take students from Portland to Boston, and it's really accessible. My roommate actually freshman year went there a lot of times to get home for the day, or to get home for the weekends. And the dairy bar is a great spot to have ice cream and sandwiches, and you can also use dining dollars there as well. And then finally, before we move on, I'll just mention one of my favorite traditions is that at the beginning of the semester, students will pat the cat, which this is our Wildcat statue. We can show it in a little bit. Yeah, we can keep walking this way.
Great.
Does anybody have any questions about that?
Yeah, we have a good question for walking and talking. Someone asked how students make friends on campus. So if you want to touch a little bit on your experience as a first year or the things you've gotten involved in, go for it. And I'm happy to do the same.
Yeah, definitely. So I've actually had a super awesome time making friends on campus. I think one of the awesome things about UNH is that we do have over 250 student organizations. So whatever you're interested in, you can definitely find a place for that here. I know for some people that might be Greek life, for some people that might be best buddies, like for me. And also your RAs and residence hall directors do put on a lot of events for your hall. So that was a really great way for me to meet people. Additionally, for some reason, I don't know why this was, but I actually met so many of my friends in the bathroom. Like we would just be like at night brushing our teeth at the same time. You just kind of get on the same schedule as people. And I would just be like, oh, hey, I like see you every night. I'm Lauren. Like, what's your name? And then we would just end up talking. And that's honestly how I met most of my friends on my floor, I feel like.
I would second that. I think everybody always says you make great friends in the dorms, and that's true, I think, for a lot of reasons, but the bathrooms is definitely one of them. Just because, like Lauren said, you are running into the same people over and over again, and it feels like you share a house almost.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, everyone, when you kind of come to campus, is wanting to make friends like that. One of the things that I actually did before even coming to campus was it's a pre-orientation program, and it's called PAWS, or the Pre-Orientation Adventure for Wildcats. And we have a lot of different pre-orientation programs here. But for the PAWS one, we went to the White Mountains for a whole week with a group of like other freshman UNH students. And we had 2 student leaders. So that was really great coming to campus to kind of have that instant family. They had kind of seen me when I hadn't showered in a week, and like, you know, at that point, you're just kind of like, I guess we're just family now. So it was really nice to be able to like count on them if I ever needed anything. And just to be able to like get to do something fun before going to campus was awesome as well. We also do have Wildcat days when students get to campus, and basically UNH will just put on like a big, huge carnival almost. And there's like food and carnival games and stuff all over the place. And so I definitely met a lot of friends through that too, just kind of being like, oh, hey, like, where are you from? Walking up to people, that definitely helped as well. Along with that freshman orientation, actually, which is what you do over the summer, I was able to meet friends through that because you're put in a group with people that are in your major. So we automatically had that connection of like, oh, hey, we're both in occupational therapy. Like, let's like be friends, I guess, because we're going to be in all of our classes together. And I'm still friends with those people today. So definitely some great opportunities even before getting to campus to meet friends.
Right. And I think even this year, with obviously a lot of like big events and things not happening as much, the residence halls specifically have taken on a lot of the load of making sure that there are still social opportunities, making sure that there are ways to get involved. And I've been super impressed with how that's gone over the year, whether it's like RAs having extra socials or them being more active and telling you like what clubs are doing things or what events there are. UNH, I think, has transitioned really well to having some virtual engagement opportunities and the in-person opportunities that we can in a safe way host for students who are on campus. So
yes, I 100% agree. There's also the UNH app, which has all of the events basically that if you ever were bored on campus, all you have to do is open the UNH app and it'll give you a list of like every single event going on campus that day. So that's a really organized and easy way to be able to like find events to go to if you wanted to be more involved. And some of those events might be virtual, maybe in person with masks on or something during COVID. And also the student body president sends out weekly emails with opportunities for stuff on campus that I always read, and I enjoy hearing about those things. So definitely easy to like find out about what's going on. Awesome. Do we have any more questions before I talk about a little bit about sustainability?
Nothing right now, but I would definitely encourage people to keep the questions coming. But yeah, go ahead and talk about sustainability and where you are.
Yeah. So right over here is Hewitt Hall. And this is home to occupational therapy and nursing and other health and human services. Another health and human services building is actually right over here, and that's Petty Hall. So kind of just across the street there. And then right here is James, which has like a sustainability focus. This is kind of like the center of the academic core of campus, I would say. We'll see a little bit of like academic way down that way, but I'll talk about that as we walk over there a little bit more. So we can actually start with sustainability, talking about the cogeneration plant, which is this big smokestack over here. Basically, how that works is there's a kind of like pipe that goes under the ground from a landfill, and then that runs landfill gas up to UNH, and then that actually spins a turbine and powers 85% of our surrounding campus, but 100% of our core campus, which is super awesome. It powers the power and heat for the core campus. So that's really cool, definitely. I've noticed in a lot of my classes as well that the teachers will, or the professors will actually use UNH as an example of something that's at like the forefront of the research, or that's kind of showing a very positive example of sustainability. So in another one of my classes, we talked about aquaponics, which is kind of like when you grow fish and food in the same environment and they kind of like play off of each other to keep it like in the same loop. And we got to go on a field trip to see that being done at UNH. So I think that that's super cool that professors are passionate about that, and that UNH is definitely really involved with that. Like I mentioned earlier, our buses also do run on alternative fuels. And we are one of 8 schools with a platinum ranking on the sustainability tracking and ranking system that has over 600 member schools. So we definitely have such a big sustainability emphasis. I really think it's super cool. Yeah. Do you have anything to add about sustainability, Laura?
I think you covered a lot of it. I think the thing that really stands out for me is that UNH values sustainability sort of at all levels. So you've talked about like cogen and just how we power campus, classes that we take and labs that we offer. One of my favorite events on campus is Trash to Treasure, which is something at the start of every school year. It's like a huge yard sale that happens in the Whittier Center, where Lauren just was a few minutes ago. And at the end of each academic year, there's donation bins, and you can call this group and they'll come pick stuff up. And you can donate anything from like a couch to a poster, anything that you would have in a dorm room or an apartment, and they'll store it over the summer. And then at the start of the year, it'll get resold at this big yard sale. And it's a huge benefit because it's keeping all of that stuff from going to the landfill. It's saving the university money and waste disposal fees. And it's also a really great way that like if you need a microwave for your room, you can get the microwave for a much lower price at Trash to Treasure once you're already on campus, instead of having to bring it with you from wherever you're coming from. So that's sort of my only other sustainability plug.
Yeah, definitely. We can start to walk over this way a little bit. We're gonna head up towards the library, but I can just point out, this is
I'm just
actually, you
gonna
can kind of see, oh yeah,
I'm going to interrupt you quick just because we have a few
yeah.
questions, some
Oh
about
yeah, yeah, of course.
CHHS. So while you're in the vicinity of Hewitt, someone
Yeah.
asked, and I don't know how much you know about nursing, but if you could just touch on a few things about the nursing program. And they also asked if there are any children's hospitals near campus that you might have the opportunity to volunteer at. And then if you want to touch on, and I can talk about this too, but for undecided students, if there are classes or other opportunities that sort of help you explore different majors.
Yeah, definitely. So I actually have a couple of friends that are in the nursing program, and from their sophomores right now, and they've already started doing clinicals, which is super cool. So they get to go to hospitals and work with patients as a sophomore, which is awesome. And they really enjoy their classes. They have told me that they think that their professors are great, that their professors provide them with lots of helpful information for their future practice. We also um, so that's about nursing. That's what I know about nursing. They do a flu shot clinic, which is really cool too. So you can get your flu shot from the nursing students here, and they start doing that as juniors, I believe. So that's another cool thing you get to do.
They're doing the
Um,
COVID vaccine too, I think.
right, exactly, yeah. My friend who's a sophomore who in the nursing program, she's already given out a bunch of COVID vaccines at her clinical site, actually. So that's cool.
Yeah.
What were the other questions about?
Someone asked about undecided students, and I am going to try to see if this is the same. I think it's a different person than the person who's undecided in CHHS, but I can just sort of say a blanket statement that regardless of what college you're undecided in, for most people, that will be COLA or College of Liberal Arts. But those programs are designed to let you explore different opportunities. So if you're undecided in COLA, you're going to take a seminar course that has professors come in from departments across campus and tell you about their work, that has other resources on campus come in and talk about different career opportunities. And you will have an advisor designated for you who is an undecided advisor, and they'll make sure that the classes you're taking are still advancing you towards your degree in 4 years, but are also letting you try out different things that you might be interested in. More
Yeah.
specifically in, like, I know in health and human services, you'll get like a peer mentor if you're undecided, and they'll sort of talk about their experience with you, answer any questions that you have. So it is dependent on what college you're in, how the program runs, but there will always be some kind of support system for you to go to with your questions, that will encourage you to sort of try out different things.
Yeah, now that you say that, I definitely I actually have spoken about occupational therapy at one of the undecided seminars. So thank you for reminding me of that. Um, but I also know that those classes I think are typically like on the smaller side or maybe involve like
Yeah.
places that students can kind of make those connections better. And a couple of my roommates this year actually all met in their undecided seminar. So it's a great opportunity to meet people as well from what I've heard from them.
Right. And there's a few more questions in the chat. I just want people to know that I see them. I'm going to hold them for now so that Lauren can talk about the library, but when she's walking
Yeah,
next, we'll get to those.
awesome. So right behind me is the Diamond Library. This is our main library on campus, but we also have 3 others. So we have a chemistry library, which is located in Parsons. We have a physics library, which is located in Demerit, and we have a math and engineering library, which is located in Kingsbury. In this library, we have 5 floors and there's 3 silent rooms. So one of them is actually like this room right here. You can kind of see through the glass. Probably not, you can't see through the glass, but you can kind of see that area right there. And then my favorite floor is the 2nd floor of the library. And that's like 1 floor down from the floor that you walk in on. Basically, they have like a lot of different seating arrangements in there. So there's some big open tables to work at. There's some like smaller little booth areas that you can like reserve for yourself and your group. There's like comfortable couches down there as well. So that's my favorite spot in the library. We do also have a lot of resources in the library as well. So one of them is the Writing Center. And basically you can make a 50-minute appointment with a writing mentor or a student writing assistant, and they'll basically help you at any point in the process. So that could be if you need help understanding your assignment or proofreading it or writing a good thesis statement for it. They can kind of help you at any point in that. I've actually used the Writing Center a number of times, and I've always found it very helpful and walked out feeling so much better than I walked in feeling. It's really, really easy to use, and it's all included with your tuition as well. Another cool thing that we have are subject librarians. So basically, depending on what subject you need help with, there's a librarian that can help you to find different resources for that, and then or answer any questions you might have about that subject. We do also have an IT desk. So that's like freshman year, I had trouble downloading UNH's version of Microsoft Word and Office and all of that. So I went to the IT desk, and within 5 minutes, I had it all downloaded onto my computer, super easy, included in tuition, didn't have to make an appointment or anything. And that was very, very useful to have right at the library. We also have a media lab where students can rent out different equipment or editing software. They can use that in there. And then we have like computers and printing in there as well. So we have Macs, PCs, and then printers and scanners, anything like that that you might need. We do have a really fun event at the library during finals week, and it's called Frazzle Free Finals. And basically, if you go to the library during that time, there'll be people walking around with like snack carts and therapy dogs, handing you information about how to like keep your stress levels down and how to maintain that. And then there's also a thing that's called the Primal Scream, which is basically where students all come to the library, anyone who wants to participate, and they just give you an entire minute to just scream and let all your stress out. So I think that's a really cool event that we have here, and it's definitely a bonding moment for a lot of students.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
All right, if you want to start walking, I'll start throwing some of these questions
Yeah,
at you. We've got some
definitely
great ones in the chat. So first things first, these two sort of go together, but how did you decide what dorm to live in as a freshman? And then what are some do's or don'ts for decorating your dorm room?
Oh, okay. So, as a freshman, I didn't really know where I wanted to live, but basically you just rank your top 3 choices, and then housing will place you in one of those, hopefully. And my mom actually went to UNH and she lived in Stoke, so I was just kind of like, okay, yeah, that works. I'll just put that. So, I ended up in Stoke, and it was a great opportunity. I liked Stoke because it was very social, and I like to, talk to people and be social. I felt like there was a lot of opportunities to meet people, and now because that is one of the bigger dorms, I feel like I recognize a lot of people on campus just because I know them from Stoke. Williamson and Christensen are also some of the larger freshman dorms, and I think that those are great as well because there's all freshmen over there, and you can kind of meet a lot of different people. Those are also like more social dorms. The girls that I live with now, they actually all lived in Lord last year, which is one of the smaller residence halls that we have, and that one actually is all freshmen as well. But they had an awesome experience living there. They had rooms like right next to each other, and they all became best friends. So I think that there's super good opportunities with whatever dorm you're looking for. If you want a big dorm, a small dorm, you're going to be able to find a good community at any of those. So it just kind of goes based on your personal preferences more.
I would agree. And there's the Residential Life website. I will put it in the chat in just a second, but it lists like all 27 dorms, and you can see floor plans, and you can look at how big they are and who the hall director is. So if you're someone who, like me, was very like particular about where you want to be living, or you at least just want to know as much as you can, that's a great resource. And in terms of like do's or don'ts for decorating, I think that really just making it a space that you enjoy being in is the key, whether that's having a ton of posters or lights or just having a really comfortable bed. I personally would definitely suggest a like mattress topper. You definitely want to be sleeping on something that's comfortable for you. So that would be my push, but I don't know if Lauren, you have anything else to add?
Yeah, first semester of freshman year, I honestly didn't really put up that many decorations. I had like a couple of things that I had up, but I hadn't really like made my space my own yet. And then second semester, I brought just like a ton of pictures that I had printed out, and I just hung them up like basically with duct tape. You probably shouldn't do that, but it didn't end up ripping off any of the paint, which is good. But I just hung up like all my pictures all over the wall, and I just like instantly was like, why did I not do this first semester? Like, this is so great to just like have all your pictures. It makes me like so happy every time I like would see those good pictures. So I
Right.
recommend pictures for sure.
Any command product is always the way to go. Anything that
Yes.
I think in terms of like rules about decorating, the two things that come to mind is don't do anything that's going to rip off the paint and don't have candles. I'm
Yes.
sure there are maybe a few more, but that's what I can think of. And then just before you jump into academics, there are a few more questions. I'm going to save a couple of them. I promised you guys that I'm seeing them, but if you, well, actually, I'll save it. Someone asked about Greek life, but I'll let you get to the mug before you jump into that.
Yeah, definitely. Is there anything else before I can start with
No, go for it.
academics? Okay, awesome. So we already kind of touched on this, but every student will have an academic advisor, and that's usually a professor in your major. You'll have a meeting with them before you pick your classes every semester, and they'll basically just make sure that you are staying on track and that you're meeting all the requirements you have to meet so that you can graduate on time. It's really nice to just have that extra person to be like, hey, am I like doing everything right? And they can just be like, yep, you're all good. And they'll give you your code to register. So you have to meet with them before, which is really great. Also, we do have career and professional success, and that's located in Hood House, which is right behind Ham Smith, actually. I didn't mention this, but Ham Smith is this building right here. It's actually the home to the College of Liberal Arts. So it's super nice. It's one of our oldest buildings, but it's one of the more newly renovated ones. It's great in there. I've had a bunch of classes in there and I've really enjoyed that. But to go back to CAPS, career and professional success, one of my friends is actually trying to transfer into the nursing program, and she set up an appointment with them. They helped her with every part of that interview and everything down from writing her resume to how to shake the interviewer's hand, how to follow up with a thank you note, everything like that. And she ended up getting in. So if that's a testament to CAPS at all, I know it's really hard to get into the nursing program, so that might be. And then I also do have a lot of people that have been involved in study abroad and research. So Laura, I know that you've done study abroad. If anyone has any questions for you about that, or if you want to talk a little bit about your experience with that.
Yeah, I would say I've done both. So I've done research and I studied abroad last spring in Budapest, Hungary, as part of our Justice Studies Abroad program. So that's something that UNH calls a UNH managed program. I traveled with a professor in my major and other UNH students. I think the real takeaway with study abroad is that we have over 470 programs. So whether it's something like a UNH managed one and it's for your major, or it's something that you find online and you bring to the study abroad office, there's really nowhere that you can't go. And it's definitely an experience I would suggest looking into if you're interested, because it's so valuable. I don't see any questions about academics right now. If you just want to wrap up, we'll save the last sort of 10 minutes or so to answer the rest of these.
Yeah, definitely. Before we keep walking, I just want to orient a little bit where we are. So
Yeah.
if we look over this way, the town of Durham is basically like right down at the end of this little hill right here. So Durham is great. There's like a lot of different places. There's local places, like little local cafes, and there's also kind of those typical things, more like Subway or Aroma Joe's or things like that. We have pizza places downtown, smoothie bowls, whatever you're looking for, you can kind of find it down there. We also do have a Hannaford and a Rite Aid downtown, so that's within walking distance of campus. That's really nice to have. So if you ever need any extra snacks, or if you ever need any prescriptions or anything that aren't sent to the pharmacy here, you can get it there. And then kind of over this way behind us over here is where Stoke is. It's kind of that big building in the back right there. That's kind of where we started our tour. And then off to my right up here is T Hall or Thompson Hall, which is kind of that like main building on campus. And then we will be walking back towards this way, which is kind of down through like the center of campus a little bit more.
All right, let's start hitting some of these questions. So I'll sort of lead you right into involvement with, do you have anything to say about Greek life? Are there Greek houses? I'll let you take that because I know that you're involved.
Yeah, definitely. So I kind of joined Greek life later during my freshman year. And that I feel like was that kind of gave me like the good perspective of both sides. So my experience without Greek life, I feel like is basically the same as my experience with Greek life. It's just kind of an added thing that maybe just it can only make your experience better if you're not involved. It didn't impact me at all when I wasn't involved. I didn't really know anything about the Greek life community until I was involved. So if you do want to be involved, it's there. And if you don't, then that's totally okay. There are houses here. So most of the sororities and fraternities, besides the ones that might be like a business fraternity or like the agriculture one, they don't have houses, but the other ones they do. And you can live in the house. You don't have to live in the house, at least for my sorority. And there's like lots of different, I personally really do like it because there's opportunities for personal development and making friends, but it's not for everyone. And that's totally okay on campus here. There's only about 15% of our students involved in that.
Yeah. All right. And other questions. So I already said that I definitely suggest bringing like a mattress topper or a mattress pad. Someone asked what is something that we recommend bringing for a dorm room. And so I would say that. I would say shower shoes. Do you have any tips?
One of the things I didn't have originally, but that I ended up finding really helpful was like a bathrobe, even just for like walking like to and from the shower. That I never thought about that, but that was definitely really helpful. I'm trying to think about anything else. Snacks are good to have in your room for sure. If you ever get hungry, it's nice to have that. Definitely pictures, I would say, is something that you should definitely bring.
Right. Also, I don't know why I just
Yeah.
thought of this, but like my freshman year is coming back to me. If you're in a dorm room and you have like snacks and food, you're going to want maybe some plates or bowls. And that also means you're going to
Right.
want like a sponge and some dish soap to wash them. We have kitchens on most of the floors in our dorm rooms, or if there's not one on your floor, there will be one just like one floor down or something. But definitely stuff to keep that clean is always slept on, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Any other questions?
Someone asked a sort of a great question to wrap up. So I'll throw it out there now. We have about 6 minutes left. What's
Awesome.
something that you wish someone would have told you about freshman year at UNH?
I would say the biggest thing for me, the biggest like takeaway that I have from freshman year was to never stop making friends, because if you kind of come in and you find those friends originally that you really do connect with, that's so great. And like, that's like awesome. You should definitely stay with those friends and like continue those relationships. But at the same time, it's so important to maintain other friendships as well and to kind of build your circle, because it's really nice to be able to kind of have a lot of different people in a lot of different areas. I feel like that's something that I'm really grateful that I did that like from the start of freshman year, because for the second half we were sent home for part of it, so I did miss out on some opportunities. But since I had kind of been putting myself out there for the majority of freshman year, it really set me up well for this year as well. That's probably my biggest piece of advice or takeaway for sure.
Yeah, I would agree. I think UNH does a lot to give you opportunities to put yourself out there. Like when you walk into your dorm, it'll be an empty dorm room, but there will be a piece of paper on the desk with a whole like itinerary of events for that first weekend on campus. And I really suggest going to some of those. There will be a lot of other first year students, a lot of people looking to make friends. My more like, besides put yourself out there, my more tangible tip, which Lawrence touched on quite a bit, which I love, is download the UNH mobile app. There is so much on there, and I didn't know about it until my second semester, but there's everything from like 10-day menus of what food will be in each dining hall. There's live tracking of the buses. There's like events. You can see what washers and dryers are available in your building. Really, all those good kind of logistics things live on the UNH mobile app. So definitely download that. All right. Do you want us to talk a little bit just about the MUB with the last 5 minutes that we have?
Yeah, definitely. So right behind me here, this is kind of the back side of it, not the best view, but it's the MUB is our Memorial Union building, and it's kind of like the center of campus. In here, one of my favorite rooms is like the fireplace room. At least that's what I call it. I don't know what it's actually called, but there's basically like the fireplaces and couches to sit. It kind of just feels like you're in your living room there. There's also Union Court in here as well, which is kind of like our more like cafeteria style thing where you can use dining dollars or meal exchanges. They have places kind of like Chipotle, a grain bowl place, sushi, salads, sandwiches, all in there. So you can kind of just get that. And it's a great environment to sit there and eat. We also have the mailroom here. So if you live in an on-campus residence hall, you will get your mail from the MUB. There's also a game room in here, which is cool, and movie theaters. So if you have interest in either of those, you can really easily access that. It's right in the center of campus. There's also event spaces. So when we have like a comedian come or a guest speaker come, or if you're part of a large organization and you need to get all together, that would also happen in the MUB. We do have over 250 student organizations here. So those are in kind of a variety of areas. So one area is the Diversity Support Coalition. So that would be something like the Black Student Union. We also have academic and pre-professional organizations. So for me, that's the Student Occupational Therapy Association. We also have recreational things. So that could be like a running club or Nordic skiing club, something like that. Or the New Hampshire Outing Club. That's a really cool opportunity. There's also Greek life on campus too. So depending on what you're looking for, you can definitely find an organization that you'd like to be a part of. And if not, you can start your own. We also have the Beauregard Center in the MUB. And basically that is kind of like a place for support and advocacy for students with marginalized identities. So it's like a physical gathering space where you can come and eat lunch and hang out. But then it's also a place where they can put on different programs. And the Beauregard Center is kind of just that like hub for social justice on campus. Also, finally about like inclusion at UNH, UNH has ranked 4.5 out of 5 stars on the LGBTQIA plus campus inclusivity campus pride index. So that's really cool as well. Do you have anything to add, Laura, or are there any more questions?
I don't see any more questions. So no, I think you've covered a lot. I would just say if you do have a last minute question, throw it in the chat now. We've got about 2 minutes left.
Yeah,
If you think of any question, which this is what I always do, but right after I leave somewhere or an event ends, then I always think of my questions. Feel free to contact admissions. I will make sure that I put the UNH undergraduate admissions website in the chat. During business hours, we have a live chat feature on there if you want to talk with an admissions counselor. We also have obviously all of the contact information for anybody. You're more than welcome to call the office at any time or to look for a specific admissions counselor and get in contact with them too. So I'm putting admissions website in the chat. Someone just asked actually how many students go to UNH.
I think we have about 12 or 13 undergrad and then about 2,000 grad. Is that correct?
Yeah. 12 to 13,000.
Yes. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I think that was clear, but
yeah.
All right, let's see if there are any last questions. I don't see any, but I'll say thank you to Lauren for doing the hard part of this tour and walking around and everything. And thank you all for joining us. Like I said, if you have more questions, reach out, follow us on social media at the UNH Wildcat. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel. We'll continue to do live tours. We also do Q&As. Tomorrow on this channel at 4 p.m. there will be a live Q&A on orientation, pre-orientation programs, and first year life. So definitely check that out if you're interested. But with that, we will sign off. So thank you, Lauren.
Yes, thank you, Laura, and thank you to everyone else for coming and watching this tour. I hope you guys enjoyed it, got some useful information out of it.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye.